so first item is the recording of the meeting. Does anybody wish to make a recording in addition to the YouTube recording? No. Thank you. Right, can we accept apologies? Okay, we have one standing.
We have
one standing reason
Councillor
for
Dixon.
absence, which is Councillor Paul Dixon, so obviously accept that. Right, item 119, members and officers' personal and disclosable pecuniary interests in any items on the agenda. Does anybody have anything to declare? Right, yes, Councillor Wilson, Andy?
202.263.776W, which I think is number 13.
Number 13.
Number 13, 1-3, yeah.
I have to declare interest in.
Oh, right. And
It's a personal interest, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else? No? Have there been any new written requests for DPI
No.
dispensations? No? Right, item 121, does any item on the agenda require to be discussed in private session? No? No? Right, so come to the minutes of the last meeting. Can we confirm the minutes of the last meeting? Thank you. Okay, minutes confirmed, thank you. Right. And then the completed temporary planning applications list. Can we note the list updated with the views of the committee, please?
Noted.
Noted, thank you. Right. Okay. So, Paul, we're now on to the new planning application. So we will bring forward number 3, which is the Longhouse. Would anybody like to start with comments?
Well, I can make a comment, given it's in my
Councillor
ward.
Hodgie? Yes.
It's slightly disappointing timber windows haven't been supported, but to be honest, the appearance from the photographs and things, I'm quite happy they're still within the aesthetic that's required for a house like that. But I'm conscious, obviously, it's in a conservation area, so I don't know whether the conservation officer, I don't mind it, leave it as conservation officer, if I'm perfectly honest.
Yes, I must admit that was my initial feeling, was to defer to the view of the conservation officer in this case. Has anybody got any other view
I
than
just
issue?
wondered whether we've any history on this. What the conservation officer said before on UPVC, do we know?
We don't know. I mean, each case is taken on its merits, really, isn't
I
it?
can't remember one that because we've had listed buildings with new windows. I can't remember a windows in a conservation area, which is odd given the length of time.
There was one that was refused, but it wasn't just a replacement, was it? It was, they were making like a French window.
Oh, right, yeah.
I don't think that was anything to do with the material.
I mean, plastic does look a lot better than it used to.
Oh, yeah.
There are, and particularly the darker coloured ones. You can't tell till you're very close up that it isn't wood. And if people are stretched for money, it's not so much the cost of installation, it's the cost of maintenance over 20, 30 years, isn't it?
I believe that a majority of people are in favour of deferring to the conservation officer. Is that?
Yes.
Is that right? I'd be happy to just have to see the vote on that.
Yeah.
Thank you. So that's unanimous. Yeah. So Paul, obviously our decision is to defer to the decision of the conservation officer. Thank you.
That's what the council's in there as well.
That's
the curtain.
It is. Yes, that's right. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Right.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, so I'll leave you now, so thank you for your time, everyone.
That's
Thank
fine.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care now. Bye-bye now.
Bye bye. Number 1, which is projection. Yeah, only two-story. Oh gosh, let's get that noise away. Two-story
It's
extension.
better without. The hybrid
Yeah.
meetings are so difficult.
Yeah, that was a bad buy, that was, just because of the noise of the thing. It's such a noisy machine.
Never mind, we've done it.
We did it.
We
And
did
you
it.
mastered it. Well done.
Well done.
My I support this in
Yeah.
principle, but there was a neighbour objection, and I couldn't tell from the plans whether the neighbour's objections were reasonable, because there was no sense of scale from the plans. The neighbour was concerned about the spouts and things overhanging their property and all the rest, which seems unlikely, I have to say, but I support it in principle, but I couldn't tell from the plans whether these concerns about proximity were legitimate or not.
Shall we support, but draw attention to the neighbours'
Yeah.
concerns about the proximity to the
Is it
boundaries?
worth commenting on the plans? Because I've noted one or
Yes.
two this time,
Yes.
in particular.
But they're not very good.
Yes, I think these are the ones with any dimensions, weren't they?
Mm.
So I
Yeah.
think it's a general comment, really, when you think of the reams of stuff that's
Yeah.
supposed to the validation requirements and how rarely does any single application actually consist of the full working
Which,
document.
and considering that people are paying for experts to do this, the vast majority come from architects and people are paying them fees, they should jolly well do it, shouldn't they?
So do you want to draw attention to the plans?
I think it applies to a few
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah,
There's some new dwellings and
yeah.
virtually no detail.
Thank you. Number 2, which is another.
That's another one we want. Now, again, I support it in principle, but what I couldn't tell from the plans, whether there is an additional bedroom, and I couldn't tell whether they'd increased the parking or it started off more than generous enough to accommodate an additional bedroom.
I thought this. Sorry, Chris. Sorry.
I went in there to drive past. They've got big frontage.
Right, they've got room for an extra.
Yeah.
Because if you had a bedroom, you're supposed to have a parking space.
Yeah. Do Kirklees not look into that?
Yes.
Is it-
yes.
Yeah, but if we,
Yeah, this is-
it's better if we can support without saying we'll defer to Kirklees. We only defer to Kirklees
Yeah.
when we're a bit stumped, really.
Can I just looking? It's an interesting history of this application. I think there've been 5. I think there've been 5 applications and 4 refusals. So this is number 5. And their reasons for refusing were pretty comprehensive about inappropriate development in the green belt. It is in green belt. Inappropriate development and overdevelopment. I couldn't see. I did try and have a look. I couldn't see much difference between this application and the previous application. So which is sort of roundly condemned by the planning officers. So I suppose my feeling was perhaps to oppose it.
So compared with 127 houses in Smithy Place Lane, I think they're being a bit steep about overdevelopment in the green belt.
Yes, I think the different criteria apply, don't they, Pat? So I don't know. Did anybody else have time to look at it?
It is in the green belt, is it?
It is in the green belt.
Well,
Yeah.
is it over at the top of the garage? There's no other top for it, is there? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
They
it
will
wouldn't
have to
really.
be development, won't they?
What if I'm just building on top of something that's already there?
I think
It
it also
wouldn't really
goes. I
affect.
think it also goes back a bit towards the back of
But if it's within the curtilage, then I don't know. It's not like building a new building in the green belt, is it? It's like if it's within the curtilage of the other house.
I think it's the fact that they've incrementally extended
Yes.
the house.
Yeah.
Well, it's
It started off as a shed and it's a 23-bedroom
Yes,
house now.
no, it takes it over the permitted size of extensions. I
I
think.
don't know enough about it to comment on it really.
Well, shall we no, we don't want to spend hours on this. Do we want to defer this to planning officers?
Yeah.
I think I thought
It sounds
the plans
pretty
were
complicated. They've got
were
reasons
weak
for
again.
turning them
Plans
down.
of course.
Shall we defer? Okay. And draw attention to the poor plans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I think number 3 was done. Number 4.
Mossage Farm.
Ooh.
Green belt again.
Greenbelt again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He hasn't sought any pre-application advice, and there's nowhere in what I could see that they acknowledge that it's in Greenbelt, which seems slightly odd. what we're trying to do here is demolish a barn and build 3 holiday lets.
Mm.
But my understanding is, with it being in green belt, if you demolish a barn, then that's fine if you rebuild another barn, but you can't change the use. Well, the other alternative is to change the use of the existing barn, but you can only do very limited alterations. And given that it's in such a dire state, I don't think that's a
I
possibility.
think you can change the use if you're creating homes, but I don't know whether holiday lets are considered to be homes.
And you know, the one on where next door to the quarry was turned down, wasn't it, only a couple of months ago, where he was trying to convert a barn into a house. To me, it's just unsuitable development in Greenbelt. No particular objections to what they put in there, except that where it is. Have a think about Greenbelt.
Well, is it that we want to make, is it that we want to keep a barn, or is it that we want the houses to look like the old barn? Are we talking about prettiness here, or what it is?
No, it's the fact that it's development in Greenbelt.
I mean, the reprinting on, sorry.
I was just going to say, I mean, the argument given in it is that it's diversification for the farm, so it gives them another income, which, to be fair, in our neighbour development plan, we talk about proposals that contribute to and strengthen the visitor and tourist economy will be supported, including the creation of new accommodation and tourism facilities through the conversion of existing buildings. But we do say in that the site should be located outside the green belt. So we can, we can argue Andy's point
Dreadful
on
as well,
that.
isn't it?
But I think that I suppose the issue is that it does. I mean, it's down a very long track, and it's a very long way. So it's
They've just resurfaced it actually, but it's still a very.
It's not like it's within walking distance of local shops or pubs, is it? Really?
I feel like there must be a little bit more justification of how there is a need for visitor accommodation
Yeah,
there.
we do need more accommodation than we have.
Yes. Well, anecdotally we do, but then I feel that they should have given a bit more evidence of where were these people, because it's not very sustainable them getting to it in the first place.
There was a climate litigation statement which I was pleased to see, which, yes. So
I'm not against it in principle.
Are we going to support or are we going to object? Did anybody else look?
I'm just looking now on, I'm looking at Google Maps now, and I'm seeing that there's quite a few very close by visitor accommodation from like the vineyard, isn't there, and stuff like that. But that's kind of off the road, and it's, I think that was a replacement sort of another building there. It's a bit strange with it being that far out there, isn't it? It's kind of quite a bit away from everywhere. It's supposed to be quite nice accommodation. All people like to stay there.
People like to stay
nice.
in the
People like to be back and beyond
Yeah.
their holidays.
Yeah, they're quite nice.
They don't want to
walks,
live
don't
in
they?
back and beyond.
It's a funny one, because I can see the farmers would benefit from this, obviously. They've been quite well booked out, but, and especially if people go to weddings at the vineyard, they might want someone to stay nearby and book something like that. So it's,
vineyard as accommodation, isn't it?
but if they need extra accommodation, it's been that big wedding.
My daughter got married there, we could have done with extra accommodation.
So it's,
I just think there's a principle here. It's development in Greenbelt.
yeah, if it's exceeding the
But
footprint
we're
of the
doing
barn,
that ourselves in Scoville.
if it was just building
Building
on,
affordable homes on Green Belt.
if it was converting a barn back into a building, I think like it would be more acceptable. But if it's exceeding the space that the barn was in,
No, it isn't. It's just on the. It's on the footprint. It's on the footprint.
Shall we take a vote?
We need to make a decision on this and move on.
No, I suggest we support it.
We support it.
It's on the footprint, and I'm happy with that.
An object.
A new object. Yeah, right. So we can support. And its contributions to local economy is
So we're supporting.
and can we welcome the fact that there was a climate mitigation statement?
Yeah.
bring more people in tourism instead. I think I would be in favour of it probably. I haven't looked at the plans, but
Time's
there's
up.
some people
So,
say.
so,
That's rubbish.
let's move on.
We've got a lot more to get through.
Let's move on to 5. Yes, very messy building. It's another one of yours, isn't it, Andy?
Broad Lane.
Broad Lane, yeah.
Yeah, I thought this one was poor on detail.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any mention of parking, though when you look at it, I think parking is alright. The materials they're using match. It looks as though it's going to stay as a 2-bedroom, it'll just be 2 bigger bedrooms.
Yeah.
I couldn't really find anything other than, as I say, poor plans, but no real reason to object to it.
Yeah, that was my feelings actually on it. I was looking for, there's no reason to object, I thought.
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
We should be looking for
No,
reasons to
no.
approve.
We should be.
Reasons to
So we're
object.
so in that case, with support, we're happy to support that.
Yeah.
Thank you. But do we, again, we want to make a comment about the poor quality of the plans. Although I found them quite difficult to follow. Did anybody else feel that? Yeah. The next one's only one.
Is this number 10?
Number 6.
6. You're wishing things away there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I thought it looked okay. I mean, it's difficult to see whether there's enough parking for the additional bedroom. It's not there on the plans what the parking was before, but I support it in principle, assuming there is sufficient parking.
Anybody else? I thought it was
No, it's
okay.
fine.
Support, just support.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right. Number 7 is just Rachel. A retrospective application, this one.
Yeah, it's funny we're getting all these certificates of lawfulness.
We do, yeah. So to dog them in, I guess. Just short them in, isn't it?
That's what I was thinking earlier.
Sorry, I left my notes at home, so I'm just quickly reminding myself what I thought on this one. Although I do remember I didn't object to any of the list, so clearly was
I
happy with this one.
thought it was fine. I couldn't see any particular issue. Anybody else wants Rachel's support?
I'm happy to
Okay.
support it.
Yep, fine.
Thank you. Number 8. Oh, it's Kirklees.
This is the one next to Cave. It's block, it's now called.
Yeah.
The thing, I mean, they provided all the information about the entire traffic
Mm.
scheme within their code, which I didn't think was all set up.
Just one tiny little element.
I mean, I'm happy with the principle of the cycle shelter, but I was a bit concerned they didn't show what it would actually look like. There was kind of a plan, but it didn't, to me, it didn't indicate whether it's suitable to be in a conservation area. Because, to me, the opportunity for them just to put in some metal shack, for want of a better words, or some perspex thing that won't necessarily look in keeping, I think would be a shame. So I was surprised that they didn't provide unless I missed it.
No,
the
this is only a
information.
CO, isn't it? So presumably
And yeah,
it's on your certificate.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
So presumably they'll give more detail further on.
oh, I see. I didn't. Yeah, or maybe.
I got that wrong. I think that's what the.
I thought certificate of lawfulness was just a kind of
Well, that's what
making
it's
sure it's okay.
Finding out whether they need full planning permission.
well, that's normally when they've done it, isn't it? And they're
Yeah.
making sure it's okay.
So we support it.
Well, I support the
We
principle.
want bicycle, we want bike.
But
Subject to
yeah, but
in keeping.
would request design is in keeping with its situation in the
Yeah.
conservation area. So it's the opportunity for something to be a bit more interesting rather than just.
Electric charging points with bikes.
Yeah.
The one thing you made there is like in Hunferth, like the centre where the bus station is. The bus stops in Hunferth town centre, and then within about 2 miles of Hunferth, they're all black and cream rather than the conventional first bus colours or metro colours. And they did that because of Hunferth and being a conservation area, and we changed them all to go black and cream for a reason. So it's quite nice to see that colour scheme continuing. And it's worth noting that it's actually being keeping.
Yeah, it's nice to see that it's come through with planning
Yeah.
applications, that things are actually starting, so people ask us what's happening, and even if something is starting.
They're putting
Right.
bush shelter in.
Bike shop.
They're bike shelter.
Right, this is another messy one, isn't it? This next one, where there was it's Greenbelt there was a previous application 2021 which was refused and went to appeal, and that was refused. Inappropriate development of the green belts. It's about, you might remember, it's about moving the stables from almost just behind the house, moving kind of across the yard, and the fact that they were now removed from it was one of the reasons that was given for refusal. Anyway, Tom, did you have a chance to look at this one?
I've had a quick look at it.
Yeah.
I thought it was okay. I didn't actually look at the materials that were used for the building and what they were trying to, what they were doing in the stables, but in theory it's supporting businesses, isn't it? And people want to have some money to build a house. It's kind of an agricultural style building, isn't it? So I don't have any problems with it, to be honest.
I suppose you fall foul of the
Out of the way.
red tape, don't you, in so much as you can only build on the same footprint with the same use. So
And
if
they're
the
doing the
building-
same use, but it isn't quite the same footprint.
But normally when it's like a stables or an agricultural building, it's most of the time when you're building something like that, it's probably going to be in the green belt, isn't it? It's the way where the farms are located, and
There are exemptions for agriculture, aren't
yeah. So like I could say like I would normally take an exception with something like that. It's not like the building like a big huge mansion or something like that, is it? So.
No.
So I didn't see any problems with it, but I'm going to listen to what everyone else thinks.
We did support it last time, and then Kate Lee's
Yeah,
let's
so
support
we're
it
going
again.
to support it.
Yeah, it's out of the way, and it won't affect anybody nearby there. So
Quite nice to be consistent for once, isn't it? Right. Next is a variation of condition.
I thought this made sense. To my limited understanding, their argument hung together to me. They were asking to do a different thing with the trees and the soft landscaping than they had been asked to do, because they felt that what they'd been asked to do, there was a greater risk of slippage and slidage. And I don't know whether you're familiar with the site, but when they first dug it out, it was a sheer cliff, and they had to put some support in. And there's stuff planted there, and they are arguing that what they're being asked to do will undermine the safety. I do not know if they are wrong. It sounded good to me.
I suggest we leave it. So because I agree with what you're saying.
So we defer or refer to the applicant.
I think we could support it.
Yeah. Oh, right. Anybody else have a look?
Well, look, I think at the end it's a technical
It's a technical
Right.
issue, so I
Put
feel
it
more comfortable
put it back to
supporting
her
that.
creation.
Yeah. Because you say from a layperson's point of view it sounded fine, but it might sound technical.
They didn't seem to be trying
No.
to pull a fast one and slide in an extra house or something, you know,
No, it's not. Nothing relating to that.
or get away without doing drains, or whatever.
Next one again, there's not from.
Right, well, this one and number 14 are the same property but different requests. And
Yes,
one's
the
asking for listed building consent, which we can't give. And they're wanting to do various alterations, internal and external, which will be visible from outside. And although we can't comment on listed building consent, they look to me quite reasonable. You know, they weren't going to radically change the appearance. They were going to increase how many windows they had and stuff like that, make it a more usable home.
Shall we refer it to the
Yeah.
conservation officer?
what's the building officer?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I think it was the building within the conservation area, so
Yeah,
both,
both,
isn't
isn't
it?
it? Yeah. Okay, number 12.
This is
The
the
discharge and condition.
yeah, it's discharge conditions. I'm happy to leave it to.
That's the standard
Kate Lee's.
reply. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good news. It looks as if maybe it'll open this year.
Is that the one on from?
Just opposite the bus station.
Yeah.
So at the sort of dead end of Norwich Bottom.
Good.
Should have been live in that part of town, I think.
Right. Number 13 is the one you can't speak about, isn't it, Monday? Which is a shame because it's.
Right.
Is it all part?
Yeah,
Right. I had a look and they've taken, so it's a garden shed, so they're taking pre-application advice. There was a certificate of lawfulness which was withdrawn. The last time we looked at it, we deferred to the conservation officer, so I suspect.
I was going to say it's moved though, isn't it? Because originally there was something proposed that was at the front, and then this, as I recall. So this
It
was
was, yes, it was,
moved
yes,
to
it
the
was at the
side.
front, it was at, yes,
Yeah.
it was at the kind
Like a
of,
suburb.
yeah,
Somehow
it was
it's
a
another.
kind of extension at the front. It looked,
I think it looks
it
fine.
looked
Let's put
harmless,
those
it
now.
looked harmless enough, didn't it? So,
I'm happy
should
to
we
support it.
support it then? Yeah, okay. Happy to, yeah. I was in two minds about it, right, support, thank you. The next one is the listed building consent, so that's.
We've just discussed that, that's
yeah.
just fine, just at third again.
Right. Right, the next one is a schools one. This is I think if you ever drive along Scolesmore Road, you'll know this. You'll know this shed, which is stuck in front of a rather lovely which is, every time I go, it pains me every time I go past it. Really, it's quite it's an absolute complete mess. So because the plans and information about that shed were in previous applications. So why it's been so it's just completely. So it was part of the 2022 application, a variation of condition which was approved. So now, and there's been enforcement action. I mean, I couldn't really work my way through the thread of everything that's happened. So I was going to suggest that we just defer to the case.
That sounds fine.
Are people happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody will have to sort it out, but it can't be us, we can't do that. That's 14, 16 is
I support
another
this.
support.
Yeah, I support.
No external changes, so support,
Yeah.
yeah? Thanks. Okay. There's a lot of stuff happening in conservation areas, isn't there? So next one as well, 17 is.
Someone's been telling them all about it.
Yes.
I can't think who it would be, but somebody's been telling them.
What is it winding them up?
It's quite coincidence, though, isn't it?
I wonder if it is a coincidence. So, there's some cause and effect here. Right.
Can I comment on this one?
Yes, of course.
It's a bit funny this one because part of me thinks that's a bit of a shame to lose a. I mean, it's officially I looked it up on the town centre map and it's secondary street frontage
Tiny.
for the town. And it's slightly difficult. I know they said, I mean, the design sort of clearly puts in some sort of artificial wall or something so that you don't have glass just at the end of your living room. But then, to be fair, there are, there is other residential use behind it. So I'm not averse to the principle of turning it into residential, but I suppose from the point of view of losing a retail outlet seems a shame because it is very obviously a retail outlet, you see what I mean? Whereas there are retail units that could as easily be accommodation. It doesn't seem a natural fit for a house. I was a bit, I couldn't really decide whether I thought I should support it or not. Because I also thought it would make the unit look a bit funny because there's like two frontages and one would.
Is it in use at the moment?
Still be there.
Well, it has been until recently. I don't know whether it's now not opened.
It's the one across from Red.
No,
Oh,
no, it's opposite the old gem of the
bus
public
station.
toilets. So you've got, Daisy Lane, you've got Daisy Lane that goes sort of diagonally up by the back of Harvey's.
Yeah.
It's on that corner there. You've got Corner House Cafe,
Yeah.
so Greasy Spoon, and then you've got you've got Retreat, and there's another
Okay.
around the corner. So Retreat is like Herrick's was Beauty, and then you got Hair on the.
So it's right in the
So it's
centre.
one of those
Right in the
glass.
centre.
It's very visual.
Yeah.
Mm.
Shouldn't
Shall
really
we?
be. losing business, should we?
No, I feel like it's.
Shall we oppose this?
I think we should oppose it,
The
yeah.
loss of a retail unit. in
What
the
conditions do we have?
centre of
Do we have valid planning conditions to refuse it?
Well, it's the loss of a.
Loss of business.
I think loss of a retail.
town.
Is that valid reason?
Well, let's see.
But
If it is
I'm
correct.
sure it's like some.
Yeah, because I mean, it is
Sure,
within,
it's like something.
it's within the primary shopping area, and
Yeah.
it's a street side frontage, because it is something.
and is there demand, or have we got more retail areas than we can let?
Well, I
There's
can't
nothing.
immediately think of any
There's hardly
examples.
anything empty, is there? So loss of a retail unit in the primary shopping.
In the primary shopping area. I think if it was upstairs, it'd be different, but it's not upstairs.
Mailboxes coming and going all the time, aren't there?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it couldn't find someone. Because it's very prominent, it's quite prominent.
Treats, that's what it is, isn't it? People can afford to have their girls in the hair done and they can't afford to live more expensive. Okay, so well, it's something different, isn't it, rather than deferring all the time to the conservation officers? So should we'll oppose on the basis of the loss of
There's a logic
the
behind
retail
that with the
unit.
proposal.
Yeah, and here we are, if I look at the neighbourhood development plan as well, we say the reuse of upper floors of residential use will be supported, subject to use being compatible with ground floor commercial uses. I just think it's shades.
What page is that?
That is page 115, policy 8. See, you came with yours as well, Nick.
Beneficial.
You were doing that.
Newspaper.
Oh, you're right. Right. Thank you, Rachel. Right, it's you again, isn't it? Number 18.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
Hunter's Lodge, I thought it's a very exciting name for a place. Slightly disappointing.
Support.
It's got to be, but, I thought I'd support it, yeah.
I was-
Provided the materials were in keep.
It's the first time I've, well, hardly ever see a reference to the supplementary planning document, so I was quite impressed the fact that they had so, support.
Gold star.
Next is a variation of condition in the upper home valley.
I couldn't really make a lot of sense of this.
Yeah.
The turning, well, I'm not whether they're turning the house again, but the sunroom is going from one side to another. It's very detailed stuff, I think it's a...
And given that it seems to be highways, we better refer
Leave
it
it
back.
together.
Yes,
Not too good, okay. There were quite minor changes, weren't there? Moving the sun lines from one side to the other. For the second one, I couldn't really
No, I couldn't.
see what the change
No, I
was. I don't think it was highways. It was about.
This is its development, isn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't they go bust and then someone's
Yeah.
taken it over and the
Yeah, it is, it was a variation condition 6 brackets highways on previous permission, that's what it says.
Yeah, true.
Oh,
Well, there's two.
it's not. Should we
Leave it
defer?
to,
Let's
Yeah, yeah.
defer. Yeah.
I like the fact that some of the houses get paddocks. I wasn't quite sure what the definition of a paddock
At
was.
least you don't let the smell.
Their own fields.
Smell blowing over anymore. So,
Yeah, close to it. Supposed to a garden.
20
Sounds possible.
minimal
Yeah.
changes here.
Is this one line?
Yeah,
I can do
it's,
a plan.
yeah, it's over whole valley. Yeah, 20. Yeah.
Yeah, I struggled a little bit with this one. Again, I don't think the plans were very clear. They're losing a double garage, but in the application it says there's still adequate parking, but there's nothing that you can see on the plans here with adequate parking or not. Not clear how many bedrooms there are. I don't know whether they're gaining bedrooms from doing this.
No, it's a
No,
games
so
room.
just
Who goes back in 2 years' time to check them?
Well, yes, but there's nothing you can do about
make
it.
Yeah.
a decision what's in front of us.
I didn't feel there was anything particularly I was objecting to, but then I just felt a bit uncomfortable about the lack of detail about it.
Well, so,
Enough to not support it, I mean.
I'm on the fence.
So comment, like the detail?
so plans insufficient
Unable
Italy.
to make a
and
yeah, no decision.
Because I agree, I hadn't picked up it was a double garage turning into. I thought they were converting the whole thing, not. But you're right, plans don't. Just couldn't see how the car would.
It's
turn
just
round,
like in
right?
isolation, it doesn't show you
Yeah.
what's going on around it, so. a bit difficult.
Right, Demolition of conservatory number 21, Swanbank Cottage, some internal alterations.
I thought this looked fine, to be honest.
Me too.
It's just a classic conservatory replaced with the kind of garden room.
Yeah, the same salesman who's going
Yeah.
around selling
They're all,
selling to the 20-year-old conservatory owners.
they're all getting, they're all getting rid of the conservatories now. Right, support. Okay.
Conservatory being 20 years old.
No,
Yeah,
but
isn't it?
not the owners. Right, certainly not now.
Not nowadays.
Right, number 22,
I support it.
trees. I wondered about, I don't know, anybody else?
I thought it
You
was
thought it
fine.
was okay?
What was it, the Dungarth one?
They're requesting removal of trees as well, aren't they?
Yeah, but they've done. There was a whole big long report about trees, and it was one tree, and the tree person seemed to be happy about it because they were planning to. They said it could be. There were lots of others that they could replant, and they were planning to replant, and they seemed to be going to a lot of trouble.
I thought the building looked okay, the porch looked okay. One of the drawings was wrong in there, looked to me, just to realise which side of the house I was looking at.
They are difficult.
Yeah.
This is
we're going to
again in a
support.
conservation area, don't
It is in the conservation area,
But it was attractive. It's not. I mean, it's.
Yeah,
It's
it's being
just-
done nicely. Yeah.
Understanding, isn't it, what their interpretation is of materials and things in a conservation area.
Well, they were going to use the same materials that are existing.
support.
This was the one with the outdoor indoor dining.
Yes.
design, wasn't it?
In order to have the outdoor-indoor lifestyle. That was it. We can't refuse it. It's to facilitate an outdoor-indoor lifestyle.
There was one very big tree, wasn't there, with its canopy like.
What happens to the outdoor barbecue when they just get rained on? Yeah.
Well, that's why they need the porch canopy.
But
Instead of standing there with an umbrella trying to poke the sausages,
Now,
and with a golf umbrella in the other hand.
now remember I gave an undertaking that I would cut down on too much frivolity in meetings. I think we're in danger of
Sorry, Jack.
Number 23 is one of mine. In the green belt again, I was happy with this. It's just realigning the track to what seems a more sensible place close to a wall, and also removing the access away from the empty to Bayfield.
Benefit to highways, wasn't it? So
Yeah. Okay, so that one 23 is support. Right, the next one is a bit of a saga. Yes.
24.
Yes, this one, you probably remember this one, we battled with this one before, and our previous conclusion is to not make any observation but defer to Kirklees officers. The previous application was refused. There was objections from flooding, whatever they call them, flooding officers. And they also thought it was overbearing and oppressive development, pretty comprehensive. Did you have a chance to work your way through this?
This is the Goit one.
Yeah.
Part that,
Homebridge.
we went through Goit. Yeah, we said no observation last time because it was so complex, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
I mean, they refused it, not just on what you were saying, but on overbearing and oppressive.
Yeah.
Whether this is any less so or not is debatable, isn't it? They have taken pre-advice, but there's no detail as to what that was. I mean, unfortunately, we don't get to see that, do we?
No.
So, quite what that advice was, I don't know. My inclination would be to say like we did last time.
No, yeah,
I think
that
it's-
was, yeah,
But it's
different.
all what
Yeah.
the technicalities are.
Different.
If it were complicated last time, it's more complicated now, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we have to do that, defer to Kirklees officers because it's technical signs,
I support.
I think it's wrong. I think it says investment consent for 2 illuminated signs. I think it's just one actually.
I think it's just
one
one.
at the front. Because I think
Yeah.
neighbours objected to the one at the back, probably reasonably because they're very close.
But the only people who will look at this, and it's not private housing opposite, it's another industrial complex.
They were,
You know, it's a whole little industrial bit
Mm.
as you between
Yeah,
Brockroad and.
they were complaining because there's the row houses that are at right angles to the road, aren't they? They were complaining. So support anyway.
Is this where screw fixes?
Yes, just
Yeah.
behind Screwfix,
Next-
yeah.
next door.
The unit behind Screwfix. Gosh, right now the next one is the Scholes one. This is somebody keeping a planning commission alive. The first application was 2010, it's been going on and on and on. The last approval was 2019, which is conditional full permission, development within 3 years, so they just resubmitted it. I can't see any problem with the draft, but I am concerned because it's an absolutely minimal document. Really, there was the planning application and then just one plan. It was awful. Absolutely. I mean, compare it with the validation requirements. So there was no climate. Things have perhaps moved on in the last 3 years. There was no climate mitigation statement, and as far as I could tell, they still haven't fully resolved the requirements for highways access. So although I've no objection to the house being there, I would like to draw attention to the.
It said somewhere as well, no additional parking, but yet this is a 4-bed
This is a
house where
It's not clear where the parking is.
well, there's only 3 there, 3 current places.
I think the board is thinking that people would just look at the old application and just take it or just
Yeah.
go through. But things have changed, and you mentioned the climate mitigation, so we should mention that to them and say to them,
So we do we feel strong enough to oppose it?
Oh,
Because we're raising a lot
or
of.
maybe we should, rather than oppose, we can just say the plans aren't very detailed, we'd like more detailed plans with climate mitigation factors and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm clarity on where the parking is, because the plans don't show where the parking is.
Not enough climate mitigation.
I think somewhere in the application it says current number of places 3, but proposed not.
Because it's a garden, isn't it?
Yeah.
It does say 3, and yet because there aren't 3, because there's nothing on that piece of grass at the moment. There aren't 3 parking. So
It should have the displays and everything.
yeah, yes.
I mean, it might be worth us putting something on our website saying the planning committee really needs to see decent plans where they can see the distance between one building and a neighbour and the full amount of parking space available and just stuff under climate, maybe a list of, for us to make a judgment we need at least the following.
I don't know why they actually get this far, because
I don't know why this wasn't picked up.
checklists should.
Because they pay money to submit these.
So they should be going back to them and saying, look, don't bother putting it in until you do this, this and this.
It looks as though this just hasn't been validated at all. I think it's as though it's been nodded through because they had a conditional full permission in 2019 and it's, I'm not even sure it's good then, but it's definitely not, it's not enough
Do you think it could be because it's been Christmas, people have been off on holiday and then people have been invalidating things, or I don't know, they might be coming back this week and looking at all the plans and thinking, I'll need more detail before we can put through committee or decide on things.
Could be, couldn't it? So we could have skipped through. So we've enough concerns there to oppose it, that's fine. The next is replacement roof.
Yes, I support it, subject to the back survey.
Right.
Can I just ask, this is the one where there's like a zigzag
Yes,
roof, isn't it?
yes.
And it's effectively getting rid of the zigzag roof.
Yes.
No, it's replacing I think it's keeping the roof, but replacing slate with steel or aluminium, something like that.
No, I think it's
Looking at the bits, it looks as if, because I know it's a very distinctive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
So I know
factory,
it's not
factory
listed
roof.
or anything, but,
Yeah.
but I thought from the plans it looks as if it was just being replaced with
All
a
right.
solid roof over the top, which so I was I support the ongoing viability of the business and they need a better roof, but I'm
Yeah.
slightly,
It's a
I'm a
shame
bit concerned as it
It's a
means
shame
that they
to
lose
lose-
that.
to lose
But they
that.
have windows in, don't they? That's those roofs for factories
Yeah.
have window on one side,
And we're
as
just-
opposed to being a solid
Yeah.
roof.
But it's the aesthetic of the road, that's all.
It's just-
So,
yeah.
It's a
I think
distinctive
it's-
mill building as opposed to just a big shed.
I think it's, yeah, I think it's removing the zigzag roof. I think that's what they're doing. But I don't think.
I have to say, I think
we
that-
can
I think-
object.
Getting precious about the appearance of the factory is a bit
Okay,
mean and anti-business.
I think we've agreed to support it.
Subject to the BAT survey. Apparently it's a big BAT area. They had a BAT
Oh, is it?
report. Yeah, they had a BAT report, and the Batman, whatever he's called, said they'll need to check and see. Well, I mean, they could end up being stymied, not being allowed to have a new roof at all because they've got bats in there.
Can I just ask that? Because the thing that I don't understand is if because the masonry does that zigzaggy thing. So if you're going to put a new roof on it, where in the plans does it show how you fill those gaps? Because I don't think, personally, I don't think that, I'm not saying we should necessarily oppose it, because as you say, I support the fact that there's an ongoing business and we need to keep that viable, and if it needs a better new roof, then fine. But I don't think the plans are very clear on whether actually it will just be a, you know, they'll fill in all the holes and it'll look really unsightly. Maybe that's what will happen, but. No, I just think, I would like us to at least mention that the distinctive roof line
So we do
is a
reflect
feature
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
should be considered in the should be thought about in consideration
Well, I
of the
think
decision.
we're just going to cost them a lot of money.
Well, they won't.
No, we're not. We're just raising an issue.
We just raise, yeah.
Because I know I'm sure I remember it coming up years ago in the neighbourhood development plan consultation, things like that. People pointing out mill buildings or something where they have a distinctive roof or factory.
But it isn't an old building.
It is.
Can we,
Anyway, they could end up not being allowed to do anything to their roof if they've got bats in it.
true. Can we move on? We've decided to support it, subject to the bat survey and regretting the loss of their distinctive zigzag roof. Right, next one, certificate of lawfulness in Petworth, over to you, Tom.
Yeah, this looks like another conservatory that's gone to the Bayside. It's gone now, so we've got replacement for it. I think it looks okay, fine.
I thought it was fine. Okay, let's support number 28. Right, it's number 29. Pomley again.
29.
Moving
I support,
moving the pet
yes.
supplies. Yes, I thought this was fine, yeah, Chris, yes.
Yeah.
God, they do currently operate from a TARDIS that is about the size of a phone box from the outside.
Yes, it's quite amazing to
And contains, and they sell everything on earth.
They
in
do,
there.
I've got a few things I thought I'd get anywhere. Right, and the next one is, yeah, a problematic one again, isn't it? And it's, yeah. Did you have a chance to look at it?
Yeah,
Thank you. The previous application is refused and we objected because we thought it was over intensification and there was no climate mitigation statement. Okay.
Yeah, I mean the materials, the cocaine as much as it's stone and blue slate, these are 2 4-bed houses, they haven't sought any pre-application advice. Again, drawings I thought very poor, lack of detail, there's no sustainability statement. I still think it's an overdevelopment, personally. I also think plot 1, the parking is inadequate. There isn't a garage on that one. I would oppose it as we have before, I think.
I don't want to oppose it. I could see very little change from the previous application, which was comprehensively dismissed by the planners, who didn't want to suggest any changes because they thought it was so comprehensively terrible that nothing would make it any better, really. So, shall we oppose? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. you for that quick answer.
No,
Times
it's
31. Was it
What?
31?
number 31.
Oh,
It's only a condition,
oh,
so
we haven't got it right.
Right,
Okay,
well,
so he's going to have
It's,
to.
you're missing nothing because it's
Okay.
beyond our skills, and we've got, I
Okay.
think it's discharge of conditions for the 127 houses in Smithy Place Lane, there's dozens
There
of
is
them.
that. So that's the
It's
deferred.
about
That's the
surface
deferred.
water.
Don't you that
structure.
have they finished it? Have they finished? Yeah, they finished 137 houses there.
No, I don't think they've started that, they're clearing
So
stuff.
how can you discharge conditions
Well,
when
because
you?
you have to show what you're going
Oh,
to
so
do.
this is all everything they're doing beforehand, isn't it?
Oh,
Like,
it's
Yeah,
side
you've got to
access,
show
you've got
us
that.
And it's right across the board, it's about
Wow.
soil and discharge and all sorts.
yeah, it's all the pre-works, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really? So
Archaeology.
It needs the council.
Good, yeah.
So it's the standard reply to defer. They're doing a lot of stuff on there at the moment, aren't they, at the moment?
so it's even start. There's still to be starting to build some down that little road. But yeah, obviously things are ongoing, aren't they?
It is a huge development for a bonny little bit of wood, but there you go.
There's a lovely walk through there, isn't there?
There's nothing we can do about it now.
Kirklees Council Planning Officer's decisions, can we note the,
Noted.
yes, there wasn't too much disagreement, no, if it's good for a disagreement or not. But, right, okay, noted, right, neighbourhood planning and viewing parish council outcomes. I missed, conservation area awareness. Can we note?
It says Deputy Clerk
Clerk,
to report.
report.
Well, there's a few bits of this, I suppose. With regard to the conservation officer team, they did get in contact with me eventually, probably because I nagged somebody else to nag Sebastian. So he eventually got back to me, but he didn't comment on that, but he just commented about Lord's Mill. So I'll have another go at him. There is a new officer. I've got her contact detail. A new team leader. I've got her contact details. But as I say, there was no mention about the conservation. You know, we were going to co-work about conservation area information. So there's nothing about that. Yeah, as it says, I posted about Home Village. Obviously we posted a number of times with similar information. So the interest is less, but people are still getting involved, and the kind of, the last one was, got a few people saying and I think they were talking about Kirklees really rather than us, basically saying has the council taken a walk around Home Firth and looked at what development has taken place without permission? And I said about Councillor Blacker going to the two shops, remember, that we did a year or so ago. But obviously there's a lot of time commitment in terms of that kind of thing, and I don't think Kirklees have got the time, and I don't think our councillors have the time either. It's a challenging thing, but people are bothered, you know, they are bothered about these things.
I like your understatement about trying to contact the conservation officer team, and this did not prove easy. It was that's a final.
It wasn't. It's
final
not just.
statement.
It's not just them is the problem. It's switchboard. Because I was
Kirklees switchboard is
It's
dreadful.
dreadful.
If you don't know the grandmother's middle
Yeah,
name of the
yeah.
person you're trying to get through to, and their three different extension numbers, you can't get to
I
them.
was just sent every time I called up. I was getting sent to somebody who was, you know, they have officers to discuss planning applications with.
Yeah.
I was just getting directed. I was going, no, I don't want them. I want a team leader. But anyway.
Probably answering phones
Is
and
there,
miles and miles
can
away.
I just ask, when you said that people were saying, you know, why aren't Kirklees looking at all the issues? Are people providing examples of
Well, no, I mean that.
A, B, and C?
Yeah, that particular, I mean, I could ask him. Yeah. I mean, he did. This particular chap was making the point that it's people will need to be dobbing people in. That was the phrase he used.
Yeah,
Sort of
yeah.
dobbing. But the only thing that brings about any change or review of the, you know, the
It
unregulated
sounds like
work
the
is.
kind of man who'd be very happy to do that.
I'm not sure.
No, well,
No,
no,
it's
it's
just- it's probably
rather
worth-
than
yeah, no,
asking
I-
for him to tell us to do something with it. It's
Yeah,
more
yeah, no, I think that's a
like,
fair
pushing
point.
him towards saying,
I think
well,
that's a
you
fair
know, if there's
point.
specific concerns, then you know,
Yeah.
do raise them with the Kirklees planning officers. 'Cause
Yeah, yeah.
Kirklees do have enforcement teams. Whether
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
high a priority
Yeah.
the issues will be will depend on
Well, I said to him I would pass on what he'd said, and I will pass that back to him. But
I just think, because if nothing else, at least it informs Kirklees that actually people do care about
Yeah.
the appearance of the conservation
yeah.
area. But I'm always a little bit cynical that people just go, oh yeah, well it's just all rubbish. There's so many people breaking all the rules. And it's
Yeah.
actually, well, yeah, but give an example. Oh well, no, you always used to be better. You know, I think there's a little bit of just sort of saying to people, look, if the report the specific issue, even if it doesn't lead to any action, at least it ensures Kirklees are aware that actually there is this sort of simmering interest in making sure that, and it might put pressure on them to eventually do a conservation area appraisal, which would make life a lot easier.
The enforcement team are.
Overwork
Well,
time.
it's hardly a priority, is it?
No.
You know, for the
I mean, even with the ones that really should follow, they're very, very slow. I think things like
But it's also a balance, isn't it? We want,
Yeah.
you know, it to be an economically thriving town, not to certain aspects.
Well, I think it's important that we do eventually establish a dialogue with the conservation team and we
Yeah.
produce some kind of documentation which we can then publicise that. I mean, I do think that's quite a legitimate thing for Paris, no mission creep. I think for Parish Council to be involved. Okay,
I think it's a better approach, isn't it, rather than trying to encourage people
to double.
domain.
Yeah.
Yes, I think
We
need
ought to inform people.
It's about
and,
educating
educate
people, really, isn't it?
Get it right before they do it.
Did you have anything? Do you want to report on any more under that?
Under the first bit,
Under the first
I
bit,
don't
yes.
think so. No, I don't think so.
It occurred to me that if there's a printed copy of the conservation area, we might get the Honley Library to put it up. They've got various notice boards.
Of which,
Of the
of
printed,
all-
of
of
the
all-
conservation
of all of
area.
the conservation
No, of
areas.
the Honley one, I was thinking.
When it happens.
Sorry?
When it happens.
When
Do you mean the map? You mean the map?
The map.
Oh, the map. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And when they've got some space, I'm sure they'll put
Yeah.
it up.
Is there anything in Clonfirth then? Library?
I don't know. No.
You'd need
We've not had a dialogue with
quite a lot in Home Further. You need more than, although no, it's just
I think there's
just
there's
one the one Home
there's
Further
First
one.
thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where we've got libraries, we might as well.
Mm.
But they're quite good at putting up
Yeah.
information.
Okay.
Anyway, we can bully Honley Library.
That's partnership working.
To move on to Lord's Mill then.
Yeah, I've got quite a long but not very satisfactory email. So, sincere apologies about not getting back to you sooner. Christmas break, illness, yada. Had a look at the site, thanks for the images, they were helpful in our discussions. It is clear that the mill is showing signs of disrepair and neglect, however it does for the most part have a roof covering and the main walls appear to be in reasonable condition, although we do note there are some signs of cracking in the mortar joints. However, it is not clear if these are historic or recent movements in the building. There are of course concern about the listed building being at risk. They are aware that there has been recent contact with the owner. That's contact between them and the owner. I know he contacted us as well, but there's obviously been contact between them and the owner. And they say, however, due to the nature of the discussions, I'm not able to share these details with you. And then their sort of conclusion is, at this stage we feel the best approach is to monitor and review the site, and we would very much welcome your help in this. Given the large number of sites we cover, having eyes and ears on the ground is an invaluable tool, and we do welcome working with yourselves and other groups and organisations. If there are any noticeable changes, then we will of course re-review our approach. That's it basically. It's pass it back and not do
Nothing's
anything.
happening.
Could we
Yes.
need-
I
we're probably going to say the same thing actually.
Hang on a second, we asked the lady that
Yeah.
brought it to our
Caroline.
attention
Alright, yes,
to
Marshall.
update it and then.
Yeah.
Yes, I can.
If she's happy
with
the
can
actions.
report.
I think she's going to be disappointed because she said the worst thing that would be they just put a fence around to keep it safe, and that's, I fear what will happen, but I don't see what else they can do really.
I can report back to.
Right, I'll forward that on to you. Sure.
Thank you. Right. Okay, move on. Item
Yep.
3. Parish council actions in the development plan. 51 actions, which are now, I think, going to the 6th of February full council meeting. Do you want to report, Rachel, or do you just note your?
Yeah, well, it was
Writing?
deferred from the full council before
Deferred,
we decided
yeah.
due to lack of time. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's much to
To say.
add, to be honest, other than an article did go into January Tito, I don't know how you say it. So hopefully it will arrive on your doormats.
Oh,
Yeah.
get to
You
back
open
home,
the
get-
little page,
I see it.
I've seen it.
and it was so good.
Centre
Our clerk
Force, yeah.
suggested we could use the expanded version I did in February. So I went, we've printed it already. No. So I think yeah. So all it was for anyone who hasn't seen it was just a short summary of what the neighbourhood development plan was about, and then commenting on the actions in the extended version, which I think was circulated around today, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Sorry, I didn't write it today. But so the intention is that could be used by deputy clerks to put on Facebook and
Yeah.
on our website. So it's a little bit more than what was in.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and at least, and if you can put the links in which are in
Yeah.
that document, then it helps people go in the right direction, find out a bit more. So I don't think there's anything. So to be honest, when it goes to full council, I'm not sure. I think it would just be a kind of
Just
noted.
noted through.
Yeah, that we have one.
Thank you.
Unless anyone wants to talk about mission brief, obviously.
It's possible. Right, number
Talking of which,
traffic.
talking of which,
Talking of which, traffic calming, yes. So, Deputy Clerk, would you like to report on? Trying to
well,
send
one of my
meeting.
reports. Oh right, yes.
With
Yeah, inevitably this was trickier than it might have been. So none of them can do this week. They've got some sort of council teams meeting at 6:30, so that was out for all three of them. With the one on the 26th of January, I think Councillor Crook and Councillor Firth can attend. Councillor Davis is pretty much, he seems to have every minute of every day mapped out at the moment. His angle on it was basically that Councillor Crook and him speak from the same song sheet, so whether they both need to be there is perhaps moot. But at the moment we've got the 26th with the two of them at 7 o'clock.
I mean, so long as Councillor Davis supports whatever Councillor Crook
He's saying
saying.
that's what he seemed to say.
Yeah.
We've got the majority of them there, haven't we? So that's pretty
Yeah.
good. It's better than just
Yeah.
one.
Thanks, thanks for that, Rich. Got somewhere, I think. Right, and then at the last meeting we decided to write to our MP to look for common ground. There is a draft which is circulated with the papers, but there's a couple of sentences missing off the bottom, which we'd quite like to reinstate.
It's probably really disappointing. I just felt that if we're writing to Jason McCarthy, we ought to be asking him for something, his support, rather than just saying this is what we're doing.
This started because
This
this arose
stuff missed off there.
in that he kept
Oh,
saying
right.
things
Oh, right.
that were wrong, that he didn't know what the council was doing. We all agreed
Okay.
we needed to keep him appraised of what this parish council did, because he was calling us something like a politicised body of people who just sit around talking or something. And so it was, we decided to make sure he knew everything we did.
In this instance, though, he's got a campaign running for
So you joined that campaign?
yes,
Yeah.
speeding
I thought you had.
and road safety, I think. So he's asking for support.
Mm.
Now I don't know how widely he's asked for that, but it's just part
Like
of it.
I put my support down just so that we get stuff through as much as anything.
So it's obviously open to anyone to support then. Yeah.
But he didn't ask the parish council, which would be courteous, but he's never courteous to us.
So, you know, what I'm thinking is there's a bit of a link there. It's very similar to the sort of thing
Yeah.
we're asking, so let's ask him to support us.
Mm.
So there were a couple of sentences which weren't in the one that was circulated, which to make sure you're happy with those before it goes to our MP. So the first sentence was, our next step is to meet with, what should we be talking about, Hull Valley South councillors to discuss these issues and press for further action. That's sentence 1. And sentence 2. We would be delighted if you could offer your support with these objectives, and I think there might be a word, and I think make some suggestions on how we might work together on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you happy with?
Yeah.
Are you happy with the addition of those 2 sentences?
Is there anything we want to add just with the item that's coming up, which is the, where is it coming up? The change, sorry, the expansion of the 20-mile-an-hour zone within Oakenfirth town centre, that we drafted a letter now, that
Yeah.
I can't remember if that's in the agenda. I know I was looking at it today, but which was that an action from our previous meeting? Is that right?
It was.
Yeah.
I just wonder if it's worth mentioning that we've also pressed Kurt Lees
Okay.
to consider
Yeah.
expanding the 20-mile-an-hour zone within the primary shopping area,
Yeah.
or to,
Yeah.
to be coterminous with
You're just
the
going to give me that.
shopping.
We'll have that other one.
Sorry, to be coterminous with the town centre boundaries. So I just think that's quite a sort of tangible thing as well, rather than, because otherwise to some extent we're saying, we're meeting with people and it's a bit frustrating because nobody knows what we want to do. But
Which we do.
because that is something he could lend his weight to if he
Mm.
don't know if it was.
I don't know what the feelings are of the 3 Hull Valley South councils. I know Councillor Firth is generally supportive, I do know. I don't know Councillor Cook and Davis.
Oh, I think they'd be
Do
supportive.
you think there's
I would be surprised if they weren't.
I'm surprised
Well, I
if
would
they
be, but I
weren't.
don't know. Is what I'm saying.
It's about whether you are against it or for it, but then we're supportive of it, but there's no budget for it, and that's probably what we're going to get told, isn't it? I think, which is an inconvenient truth.
I think if you've got more voices, such as the 3 councillors and the MP behind it, maybe they'll just think, perhaps we've got to find something somewhere.
I think it's more from like a local issue. I think it could be more something that could be pushed out nationally, where they have to say like certain places near schools have to be 20-mile-an-hour limits. They did it in Wales where they put a 20-mile-an-hour limits in everywhere.
Yeah.
So why can't they do it around here?
Well, that's why
But
we
it's-
push our councillors, because they're the ones who
Yeah.
can make that political leadership. if they
Well,
want
the
to.
MP can do, yeah, but it's
It's so haphazard at the moment, isn't it, their approach? There isn't...
Okay.
And I think that's sorry, I think the department sort of doesn't seem. It's not just about one person, isn't it? The drive doesn't seem to be there collectively within highways. Full stop. Really.
Right.
No.
But they might not be positive because they're being realistic about it. There's no money for it to do it.
No, it was,
Oh,
we had a
okay.
meeting with her.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Right, shall we move on to feedback? Thank you. Can we first of all note the list updated with the views of the committee?
Yes.
Thank you. Note that. And then a new amended application. Okay.
Shed in the garden.
shed in the road, huh?
Sounds so excited.
I couldn't quite see whereabouts.
I thought you were
I
going
still
to say
cannot understand exactly where this place is.
It's a long way
It's
down.
opposite the fleas,
It's a long
isn't
way
it?
down.
My
It's a long way
mum
down. the
lived in a
slope,
council house in the national park and they had to get planning permission for the greenhouse
I
at
mean,
the
it
back of the
seems-
council
It
house.
seems sensible, it's a holiday let and they want someone to put along the line.
I thought it was fine. It's got a cedar roof and it's
Yeah.
down a slope. It
A
can't-
vegan
It
roof.
can't be.
Cedar.
Oh, Caesar! This is new!
It will be vegan, yes. Will be
Vegan
vegan.
wood. Yeah.
How was it no sheep that eats it?
So we're happy to support.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. Must be quite tough living. Yeah, well, so it should be living in the Peak District National Park and there's lots and lots.
Well, like, they don't have to get permission to put a greenhouse in his council house garden.
I don't think it's on listed, is it? It's one of the few that isn't.
Right. So, ongoing highways campaigns. Right. First of all, speeding on noise pollution on Woodhead Road, Humbridge.
So Mark Scar phoned me on Friday. Didn't with little purpose, to be honest, but I mean, all he'd really done with this one is bat it back to the road safety people, which is who haven't communicated with us in the first place. So, you know, this is probably a year and a half, isn't it, that we've been waiting for these figures. This is ridiculous, isn't it? So yeah, I'll have another go. I'll have another go at some about this particular thing sometime soon. Yeah.
Thank you, Richard. Campaign for Safer Magdale.
Yeah, that's all we've got. Yeah, we're waiting those
the
figures.
same,
Yeah, we're waiting the
yeah.
figures.
The residents were thrilled because it included sandbeds for the first time.
That's right.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yes, it is. That is good.
Head Road intersection, nothing much to pop, but they are doing, I think, preliminary works and stuff. They are taking stock and so on. So things are happening, things are going to happen, but there's not actually a huge amount of evidence, really. Burnley Road closure.
Right. So yeah, Mark Scar phoned me about this. So I sent that slightly narky email to Ben Wright. Copied into you and councillors and various others. And strangely, Mark Scar called me because he seemed more concerned about the fact that information was getting out from councillors about things that have been said in the past. Yes, it was a very strange call. So, I mean, what he said basically was still nothing's happened in terms of legal proceedings. That this week, there's another meeting with stakeholders where they're going to be deciding to actually enforce the legal proceedings or not. But it was all a bit, there was a lot of talk but not a lot of actually doing very much again. So. But he did raise up a good to read that one.
Okay, thank you. Ramsden Road.
Well, they clearly did email back. And he made a number of points, limited resources, he's only got £50,000 in the public rights of way budget for the whole of Kearns-Leeds. But then it's nothing to do with public rights of way, it's highways. And highways have got £290 billion in it, so I'm not quite sure where he's coming from there. On a positive note, he said they're now procuring the gates and the planning, the consultation. So, we'll see.
That's it. That sounds like a partial success.
Yeah,
That's what we want, is it getting the-
isn't it?
But what's the consultation about? Is it about?
It's what they did 18 18 months ago.
That's a repeat of what we've
Got
already
to
done.
repeat it because so much time has lapsed.
Okay.
So then we'll do the consultation, then we'll be into the next year's budget and we'll say, oh, we haven't got any money now.
But they're procuring the gates, it says, doesn't it? Or...
Yeah, it says so. But
How much have they spent on consultations and could it have done the job?
yes, short answer. I mean, he made the point about this public rights of way budget only being 50,000. They spent £20,500 consulting 300 people in public rights of way. And you just think, if you're short of money, why are you consulting people?
20,000 to consult 300. I mean, they could go into
they
their
might have to do
houses.
it. They might have to do it though. It might be one of those things that they have to do because of the. I don't know.
But they need to do it better than that, anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not at that cost per head.
Like we said, we didn't even hear about it. So.
Essentially, it told them it was dark at night, it didn't tell them anything.
Do we wish to take any further action? Well,
I don't think there's much we
I
can
think we
do.
should congratulate Andy on his
Yeah, on his
persistence.
patience.
On his patience and
I don't
persistence.
feel that.
And persistence. Well, there is a slight move there, isn't it?
Yeah,
That
there
we're
is.
commissioning the gates,
There
so
is.
I think.
It's very frustrating because,
Yeah.
I mean, living where I do, I see this
Yes.
every week, damage going on, littering, fly tipping, it's dreadful.
Yeah, there was some bad stuff, wasn't there, reported last week, was it? Or the week
There's a
before?
city that's being set on fire and
Cut through
I've been over this
these
for 4
fences and
years
stuff like
now.
that. Yeah.
And say, just get on with it and do it. Sorry. Move on.
Don't apologise. Right, let's move on to the another depressing story. The South Lane landslip. Thanks for including this on the agenda. I think most the photographs. I did go and have a look as well.
Very
It's
dramatic.
Very
I didn't know
dramatic.
it was like that.
It's-
There was a bit-
Yeah.
It looks completely different to Burnley though, because the roads collapsed rather than
Mhm.
someone's part,
Collapsed
someone's
onto the
land
road.
was collapsed onto the
Yeah.
road. So I can't see how they can make the same argument.
The
They are, yeah.
Well, yeah, but I don't
and
see how.
well, I think because something that somebody's done. But I know that Kirklees councillors are on this, and I've
Yeah.
heard them say that it's not going to be like the Burn Green. They're going to get on with it quickly. So it's
Mm.
time. We shall see. We shall see.
Well, the problem with it is it will end up gradually more of the road.
Yes,
fall
and
away,
then
won't
they'll
it?
have to close.
Yeah, to close South Lane would be really-
I think part of the problem was that the reason that that it ended up with like a sheer face is that the landowner, so it was originally a slope. So the landowner, not this landowner, I'm talking
Yeah.
about a couple of
So they
generations,
dug
that
out
basically
the
dug it, yeah, but
Cut away.
it cut
yes,
into it for their
it's-
own, to expand the garden for
So
their
the
own use.
council is saying it is
So
the
that's-
landowner's
yeah,
responsibility,
that
not,
was the
not
logic.
this
to it.
landowner's,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it was, right.
Yeah.
I would say the industrial solution for this one would be a lot more difficult than the one at Burnley, but
Yeah.
especially with the logistics around it as well.
Yeah.
So it could be a while till they do it, and they probably shouldn't wait to do the works till the summer because you could get more rain and more water causing more problems to it as soon as you do it and whilst you're working on it. There's also still the landslip as well, just out of New Mill on that, I can't remember what the road's called, which happened last year when all the flooding happened. And that's still ongoing, that's still been closed up, that's been nearly a year now. So there's a few other bits around, isn't there?
Well, we chatted about this, didn't we, last week, and to what extent should we get involved with these things?
Yeah.
My personal feeling is if someone comes to me and says, what's happening with, then I feel we have a responsibility to
Yeah,
try and
yeah.
follow that
Well,
up.
we have to be, at the very least, we have to be informed
Yes.
and put in the odd nag, and that's possibly as much as we can do, but we,
But where no one's approached us,
Yeah, nobody's
Yeah.
approached us at the moment, yeah.
I've seen on Facebook where Moses Crook's been putting an update and a bit of timeline saying what's happening at each point of it. So they are keeping people informed if you look at the
Yeah.
right, you go through the right channels and stuff like that. So I think things are happening, I think, but it's it's obviously quite difficult, isn't it? With the Burnley Road, it's a bit
So,
different, isn't it?
I'm suggesting basically what you've just said, Andy, that we don't take any further action. That we are aware that Kirklees councillors are aware and he's trying to keep people informed.
Yeah.
So.
A lot of councils
Yeah.
have been on with it since 2021, so it's.
Yes, it's not
new.
a new thing that there've been gaps opening up and then it's suddenly and there have been dialogue before and it's just collapsed. So it's not it's not new. Okay, so yellow lines outside Northern Church. Have everybody
Yeah.
seen that separate?
I was approached about this one from a resident of Liverpool. My cousin, she messaged me at Christmas saying she'd been in touch with Kirklees, messaging her about it, and nothing's happened with it. So I said to her that, she asked me what I could do about it. I said, well, email Rich, we'll get it on the planning agenda, we can talk about it, and then escalate it through the council.
Yeah.
So Diane's concerned that these double yellow lines that used to be in place all the way down to a certain part of the road, and when they've done some road works and made some changes, the double yellow lines have stopped there rather than there, basically. And once it's reinstated, because people are parking there and people come around the corner and she's worried it's going to cause an accident, basically. So, she wanted us to pursue it with Kirklees, you think?
I think
Yeah.
it's impeding. I think this is. I think we should refer this one to Kirklees the Kirklees councillors.
To the yellow lines
To the yellow
department.
lines.
Well, that highways, isn't it? Yeah. And the season will put them back in place.
To Kirklees councillors and to highways. I think the thing about referring to them with the Kirklees councillors, I mean, they are supposed to get responses within whereas we know as individuals and as the parish council we don't, there's special way of accessing, so.
It does seem like this one is quite an easy fix rather than Burnley Road and South Lane, which are not easy fixes.
Yes.
You just need a pot of paint, really. Well, it isn't quite right, is it?
Yeah, it's a bit strange why they don't put them back as they were supposed to do it, unless there is a reason where they can come back to us with. But yeah, I think,
Are we happy with
Is
that?
it just an oversight or has there been a change of
exactly.
policy?
I think it's most likely an oversight.
I think so. We'll find out eventually.
Contract or from.
This could be a quick win, this one, couldn't it? Right.
Hopefully.
I wouldn't hold your breath there.
Compared to some of our
Just the 5 or 6
Councillor
years.
Blackness said.
You mean you're going to go at 3 o'clock in the morning and just paint some yellow?
We'll club together, this committee will club together and get some luminous yellow paint and we'll go out at night and do it.
Fun. Right, okay, moving on. 131, footpaths and public rights of way. In essence, does anybody want to go on Monday 13th of March? Chris? Excellent, thank you. I've got the done. Right.
Yeah, that'd be useful. Please, yeah.
Remaining committee budget.
Hang on,
No, you missed
sorry.
132.
Oh, sorry, pending planning application. Sorry, Rachel. Pending planning application. Yeah.
Yeah, this was just to let the planning committee know that following the full council endorsement of proceeding with the topograph, I'm hoping to be in a position to submit a planning application in the next couple of weeks. So obviously when it comes to the planning committee, it
What's the cost of the planning application?
I'm told it's £232.
Oh, it's quite good. I thought it was more than that.
But I think as a parish council we get it at half price, so I think that's why it's that price. Because it is a full
Family discount.
Yeah.
because it's a full I've been told it's a full planning application we have to do, and in fact talking about all the validation requirements, jeepers, it takes an awful long time to work through the peak districts and things.
Oh.
24 pages of questions.
Wow.
That's even
For a
before
little,
making a
for a
plan.
little thing.
Yeah, but I'm still at this stage, just for your information, I'm basically the artist and I went up and looked at the site, and it looks as if there was actually an area which had, because I know people have talked about there was something there before, and there are sort of sets in the ground which suggest that there probably was something there, and it's sort of a slightly flat area, whereas the rest of it all sort of drops away down here. So It's kind of what looks like a very logical place to put it. Yorkshire Water are very happy and being really supportive and getting their ecologists to give advice. And in fact, Yorkshire Water have indicated that they will get their contractors to do the installation and hopefully at their full cost. So which will make a big difference, but also means that it will be done properly how they want it done. Not that we wouldn't do it properly ourselves, but it does make it easier to have their endorsement. But the Peak District have just confirmed that they need this full planning application. So obviously I will share the two papers with you, I'm due due course, but until I've got the sort of final sketch from the artist who's working with the quarry to work out the size of stone that you can get, it's obviously I won't be putting the planning application in, but the principles are the same. So it'll be a sort of what I talked about before, which is basically big piece of stone, might be 2 bits of stone depending on size. We're probably talking slightly bigger than I thought, so up to 3 metres wide, because then it's, otherwise the thought was it'd get a bit lost in the landscape if it's just quite small. Possibly curved if we can do that, but that depends a bit on what the quarry can do in terms of the size of the stone. The top would be a 45-degree angle, stop people using it as a picnic table or climbing on it, or discouraging from climbing on it. And the carving will show the sort of shape of the landscape, because there's all the sorts of ridges in the distance. And then obviously things like Emily Mars Castle, Hill, Huddersfield, there's different things to point out. So probably about 12 different places indicating. And we're going to be looking at having an inscription on the side that will say something along the lines of commemorating the coronation of King Charles III and then Home Valley Parish Council. We're keeping it simple, but marking the fact that it's the coronation. So that's
Great.
That's what it's above. And obviously, once I've got sketches, then I'll share them with all smashing.
Don't forget your sustainability report.
Yeah.
That survey.
How close you are to your neighbours' borders, boundaries.
Yeah, well, as I say, there are an awful lot of
Is it
boxes
porous, hard standing you're putting it on?
I had to get a flood risk map.
Did a flood risk?
That was an easy one. We just downloaded off the flood assessment. Anyway.
If it floods up there, we're all in.
Well, yeah, we'll do, yeah.
Yes. If it floods up there, there's not much else to bother about, really, is there?
But it does make me sympathetic to people putting in planning applications,
Yeah.
because there's an awful lot of things that you're asked to comment on.
But when they've paid an architect,
Oh, yeah.
an architect, it should be second nature for an architect.
Yeah, it should. Yeah.
They must know that they're not doing it, mustn't they? They must just not most.
Yeah, this will do.
I think we should all thank Rachel for this.
Yes.
Tremendous piece of work.
It was a great idea. I think it was a good idea to use your allowance to do it. I think it was a really nice idea as well, and you've seen it through. I'm
Well,
really
I'm not
impressed.
it's not easy.
It's
But at least the planning process is
right,
hopefully.
the money for the planning application,
Yeah.
is that, where's that coming from? And does that
Well, that's out of the budget that was approved by.
that's
That's right,
the
isn't
amount
it?
of budget, so that's agreed. Yeah,
Mhm.
That's right, isn't it?
Just think,
That's
when you're
excellent.
6 foot under,
Yeah.
your kids will be able to say it.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
My mum put that
I'd
there.
rather they can say that while I'm still not 6 feet. I'm hoping that I have a few more years.
Yes.
But at least they know where to scatter you.
You know, I'm a planning test.
It's all rather macabre, wasn't it?
I think Richard's going to have a bit of editing to do on this.
Everyone's got giddy in the new year. Right.
It does tend to happen, doesn't it, towards the end of
Thank
the
you.
meeting? Thank you, Rachel. Right, remaining committee budget, right. We've got some money left, haven't we? So £7,000 left in our budget. Anybody any idea what we should do with this, or what happens if we don't spend it?
We have to spend it.
We don't know what's
No.
They don't have to spend it, and they can, I'm sure they can use
Your
it.
finance officer would probably prefer that you didn't.
Yeah, I think there are places we could wire it to elsewhere in the overall council that would be valid.
If we were going to vire it anyway, could we possibly vire it to the 20-mile-an-hour scheme? Would we need funding somewhere along the line for that?
I don't know. without looking at the F&M papers, I couldn't tell you offhand, but
Yeah, I mean, you could create an earmark reserve for that.
I think that's
Obviously,
quite good.
obviously,
Yeah,
that's,
good idea.
obviously it would go to council, but you could recommend it to council to create an earmark reserve with.
What would we spend money on as part of that campaign?
Well, it was suggested
Well, we'll do by
quite a way back by, what did they call the lady that came to talk to us?
Liz Twitch.
This, you know, there's,
Liz Twitch.
Melton had actually contributed towards their.
I mean, she did say she had like a price list, didn't I think I asked her for the price list, but
I'm
I
not
was
sure we
didn't
got it.
get it. but-
Is there anything on there that costs £7,000?
Pounds.
Well, we talked about, you know, those kind of vehicle activated, kind of
Yeah.
signs, you know.
It might be a contribution towards.
Yeah, you know.
or publicity.
Liz Williams.
Perhaps our money's better spent, rather than giving £7,000 towards 50 grand, is to spend it on publicising the fact that this is now 20 and this is blah blah blah.
I just think
If
if
we
we
put some of
just show willing.
Yeah, I think if we put some in, it's shame's fair pleasing to put some in as well. And we've all sat here bemoaning the fact that, well, there's not money. So,
It isn't,
Yeah.
the thing is, you will find different arguments thrown at you. It isn't just money, it's things like, well, if it's more than 23 already, the police won't police it, and if it's this, I mean, there's always very good reasons, I quote, for not doing it, not just money.
So like, I think it's North Kirklees where they've got two of them machines which they can position around.
Yeah,
Or
no,
they've got some.
they've got them here as well.
Yeah, but they've North Town Council got, there was something that they had that we should.
Well, I think we got two and they got two, but they bought two more than, I think they might have four. Two that they had and two that they bought, you know, because that's what they.
So we might be able to buy an additional one out for
Yeah,
ourselves,
yeah.
which we could choose, then we could,
We could move it round the valley.
where we want it to be, but Kirklees would have ownership of it, I suppose, as part of the scheme. I don't know.
I think the cost with them, sorry, I was going to say the cost with speed indicator devices is moving them and having the socket on the lamppost to make them work. But if we were, because I know putting a socket on a lamppost, because I did it for the Greenfield Road, so that then that was one of the locations that these ones now go to. That cost about £300. That was about 6 years ago, so it's probably about £400 now to do it. But then it's the maintenance team which then have to move it. So, but then if we had two locations, or say 4 locations and 2 speed indicator devices, it's the sort of thing where if we were giving a contribution, if we had a sense of how much that would cost, and we could give a
And
contribution.
we could leave it in place for a year at a time, so that we could budget, we could say, there'll be the cost of moving it, it'll stay there for a year, and then there'll be
I'll try and get it.
That'd be an annual expenditure, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Moving it, like, we have to budget for how many times we choose to move it throughout the year.
Yeah.
So it's something to think about, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we,
Okay.
I think this is a good.
budget,
Sorry.
F&M agenda.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, given that as a committee, we've decided that one of our aims really is to work towards a 20-mile-an-hour limit in all the village centres. I think it would be good to show willing about. So is the way to do that to create an earmark reserve now for £7,000?
yeah.
Yeah.
It can go to F&M and then
Sorry,
it can go
you
to
want to say
full-time.
Well, I was just going to say, I wasn't trying to help the debate again about the 20-mile-an-hour zones, and we perhaps don't need to identify anything in particular, do we?
No, not at this point.
All we
no.
need to say is we
Just
don't.
put it towards our efforts and
Yeah.
we can discuss what we do.
And Rich has agreed to try and chase Liz Twitchett for the price
Yeah,
list,
yeah.
which was never forthcoming. So
I don't think it needs to go to F&M really.
Doesn't it?
Well, because council would it'd have to go to council anyway, so I don't think there's much point putting another step in for.
So
I
shall
think
we?
there's some
So the
extent.
proposition is that we put £7,000
Yeah.
in earmark reserve for towards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you. Right. Publicising the work of the Northern Parish Council. Is there anything today?
I got some flack because the links don't work on mobile devices. So I'm going to try and work out how to do the links on planning applications on
Oh,
Oh, don't they?
They work on
Laptops.
laptops, but often they don't work on my phone. For example.
You'd have difficulty looking at planning applications on your
Yeah,
phone anyway.
I was getting flack about it.
They don't work on the
Look
Mac.
at the
They
plans.
work on the Mac. Oh right, oh interesting. Okay.
I always go to the Kirklees.
Because I just paste.
It's
So
easy
it
doing on the laptop.
comes in a letter,
It's
I
like
paste it
on the
from the
laptop.
letter into the document. But I think I need to
You
open
You
the
don't
open
have my
it,
phone.
copy that, and then paste that. So
No,
it's,
that's
it's,
ridiculous.
There's something a bit odd about it because
So this,
the
sorry.
Kirklees ones, if I try and
yeah, it'll take you to Kirklees, won't
turn
it?
it on,
Oh, will it not?
not on the Mac, but yet the
Oh.
Pete Parks one, I clicked on it by accident and that took me straight to it. So it's
No, I think there are problems with the Kirklees the way it's set up.
Right.
I'm going to try and find a way around it, but it will be extra work.
So, I think, is there anything that we wish to publicise? I can't think of anything off the top of my head, nothing really newsworthy.
I mean, coming up, we will have the place standards thing with meetings coming up on that, but not yet.
Not
obviously.
yet,
And hopefully we might have something to say on these 20 mile an hour zones if that happens.
Yes, yeah, I think
So maybe it's something just to think about for the future.
looking around for something to say. So that's it. Thank you, everybody. But just want to remind you that it wasn't on the agenda. The response to the TROs for the Home First Centre, which I sent down as a draft, which nobody else suggested any amendments, apart from Rich, which I've incorporated in my second version. Are people happy for that? So we don't have to bring it to the next meeting. Can we agree? This is outside the meeting. Can we agree that it goes on? Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks everybody.
Cheers.